Hi, I'm Steph Wagner, registered dietitian and founder of Bariatric Food Coach. You are listening or watching BFC Chats, where I interview members inside my Bariatric Food Coach community. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Stay tuned to the end where I can tell you more about our Premier Access membership community. All right, well, I'm Steph Wagner, dietitian on Bariatric Food Coach, and I'm here with LaChez, who has been with me for years and years. And I'm so excited for you to share with whoever's listening just the ups and downs and ins and outs of your journey. So, why don't just to start, I feel like we should kind of orient everyone because I know the timeline, but we'll do kind of like overview and then we'll get a little more specific. Why don't you give us kind of a timeline of your journey of the beginning of your bariatric story to where you are today?
So I'm LaChez English, and I started my journey, I would say in the summer of 2016. Um, and I had surgery. I had a sleeve. Um, it was November 2016. And so when I first started that journey, I definitely, um, was nervous and I wasn't sure that it was ever going to happen. The surgery itself, it was a long journey, and I believe I was given the task of losing 20 pounds in the beginning. And in my mind, like, obviously, if I could lose 20 pounds, I would have already done it.
Totally.
But I had to do it, and so I had a lot of support, and I think that that's when I first met you because you were the dietitian at the clinic I was going to. And then at some point, one of the first barriers in my journey was that my job decided to change our insurance. And so my new insurance no longer covered bariatric surgery, and it was literally like a month before my scheduled surgery date. So when that happened, it was super frustrating, but I did find another clinic that was more reasonably self-pay, so I was able to go there. But you had a resource, and so you had shared that with me, and I found that to be so helpful. The meal planning aspect of it was brand new to me, and that your recipes specifically really helped me find a common ground between something my family would eat and I would eat versus before we all felt like it was just like I had to eat completely different.
Yeah.
And then,
What are the ages at this time?
uh,
2016, you're a mom, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah, I know you have to do some mental math here, but
I was thinking. Um, so I think I would have had one who was about 7 or 8, and then another one who was about 5 or 6, and then one who was around 4.
wow.
So, and then my husband, and so finding something. I mean, I was going through a change, but and they were very supportive of me, but in their eyes, that didn't mean
Yeah,
they had to go through a different
right. You
eating
still live
habits
here.
as
Yeah.
well. Um, but we didn't know like what the future would hold for us all in terms of diet and eating habits. And so it was an introduction, and we were, like I said, we were able to find something that everybody kind of liked. There were definitely times where I would say, especially in the beginning, I was cooking 2 different meals, um, and that was hard, but we adjusted. And um, at some point, I decided I'm not cooking 2 different meals anymore.
Yeah.
And so I cooked what I cooked. As they got older, it was easier for them to, they also, their needs, nutritional needs changed. They're in sports, and um, our now also looking to be healthier. And so
Yeah.
um, those needs changed as we went, but we've always used this website
Mhm.
as like a springboard for us to plan meals and make grocery lists and things like that. So,
Yeah, because during these years you had, like you said, with sports. I
yeah,
mean, you started and they were early elementary school, preschool, and then like softball really
yeah.
started kicking up. I mean, you were like living at the ball fields, and you were
Hmm.
at one. You had a season of traveling a lot for work
Yes.
for a stretch of time. So,
Yeah.
thinking back on those years, like how were you making dinners happen or feeding your family when you
So
think
we
about
were
that
doing
time?
a lot of prep, and I would find those weekends where we weren't in softball, were definitely prep weekends. So that happened about once a month. And I would prep, then I would prep for several weeks at a time. And I bought containers and I would freeze everything in the containers so I could just grab a container and go. And then for travel, if it was in state, I would use those containers and use my microwave. Um, if it was out of state, that was a little trickier, but I did find ways where I could have food delivered to a hotel. Now, I don't think so tricky because grocery delivery is very common.
Yeah.
But, in 2017, 18, like I depended on Amazon a
Oh yeah,
lot
I remember
for some
this.
food. Yeah.
Yeah, and like for those of you listening, Lachey helped write this guest blog, and it might have been 2017. We could go look at the date. She helped me write this guest blog on travel tips for bariatric patients. We made a handout. I'll
Hmm.
have to link it, and even some of those tips we've like since updated because resources have gotten so much better. But you would ship a box to your hotel before you
Yes.
got there. But whereas now, like you could Instacart your items or Uber Eats your grocery
Hmm.
delivery or whatever. It's so much easier now, but you were
Yeah.
really, I mean, it was really a couple of years before that really became streamlined.
And you could take some things on the plane, like on your carry-on, if they were like in an insulated bag. So, like cold stuff, so like cheese sticks and things like that, I would take with me, and then other things would get shipped to a hotel. Otherwise, I would just be really yucky and not feel well and not function well.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so I just had no choice. And, um, you could always take shakes and things like that, but when you're there for a week, that
Yeah.
gets there can only be so many.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so then, okay, so you have these years of the kids are busy, sports, you're doing
Yeah.
all the meal prep, you're traveling. But there's other health issues going on in your household,
Hmm.
yours, your husband's. So tell us when those kind of things started also entering.
Yeah. So my husband had some symptom like heart related symptoms off and on, and we had gone back and forth to doctor and really weren't sure what was going on. And then I guess it was around 2019 when I started just having some really bad reflux. And so, like, by the spring of that year, I had begun, like, I had gotten a scope and had begun to kind of look at some things. And so there were some things going on. One was that my sleeve had like twisted into almost like a corkscrew. And so that was going on, which was not helping. Like it was keeping food from going down very quickly and things like
Hmm.
that. And um, also the reflux itself was just getting worse and worse and worse. Um, and so just as we started to kind of get into that, COVID kind of like that 2019, like I had the the scope and then was just going back and forth to the doctor and talking to the dietitian and things like that and trying to adjust and all the things they want you to do in the very beginning, like stop having caffeine and like
Mhm.
all the things.
Mhm.
And so it was just continuing to get worse. And um, at some point, I mean, like I couldn't even I would eat and couldn't even like recline in the littlest bit for several hours.
Wow.
And so all of it was just really escalating. And so by the time COVID kind of started, um, then the doctors were really not accepting visits, and so everything was over telehealth. And then also I work in public health, and so I was like my schedule was ramping up a lot for work. And so I think as a lot of um, people, but I think moms in general would do, they would say, okay, I need to focus on work. And also everything's just in disarray because we have a kid at home who has an immune deficiency.
Yeah.
We have my husband who, as time had progressed, he had also learned that his kidneys were not well. And
Mhm.
so he also is at high risk. And so um, I just I just focused on them, and we're all home. We're trying to be
Yeah.
in school at home and work at home and
Yeah.
all the things. So um, I just sort of put it to the back burner. And so when we returned um, to somewhat of a normal life, like when I was able to start going back to the doctor again, it had been several years at that point.
Yeah.
And I so the doctor said I would need a revision
Mhm.
to help the reflux. Um, and the issue was the insurance I had was saying that since they didn't pay for the original surgery, they would not pay for the revision.
Oh my gosh.
So that was I finally kind of learned that. I think it was probably in 2022. Um, so in
So
23,
at this point, it's 3 years
yeah,
of this reflux
yeah.
and not being able to
And it's just
recline for
awful. And they're
hours. And
continuing to increase like the medications I was
yeah.
taking. I
Yeah.
was taking a crazy amount of medication for the reflux each day. And
Yeah.
even there were days that even that didn't help. And um, so I finally, my daughter, some stuff was going on with my daughter, and so that was in 23, in the spring. And so finally that summer, I decided like I'm going back to the doctor, I'm getting this fixed.
Hmm.
And our open period for our insurance starts in October. And so I found an insurance that would cover it. And then once, and the job I'm at now, we have like a lot of different insurances we can choose from.
Okay.
And so when October hit, I mean, that was the plan. I was switching insurances.
Yeah.
I'm simultaneously like going to the doctor, and we know like January 1, I'm going to be ready to like hit the ground
Let's do
running
this.
and
And I'm
get
even
something
thinking
done.
like the mental load of having to look at these insurance plans and you're thinking about what your husband's going to need, what
Yeah.
you're going to need, what the kids could potentially need if whatever. I mean, it just and being able to focus and think through what everyone might need and what this insurance plan means and the mental load of all of that like I'm just let's pause there. That's no small thing. I'm sure that took hours of poring over the fine print,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because we have to figure out like, you know, yes, who needs what's the best coverage for mental health versus the other pieces, and like balancing it all out.
Mm-hmm.
And also just the price in
Yeah,
general was
right.
an issue too. And so we really sat down and we were like, okay, this is going to be really expensive, but can we do it for 1 year and
Hmm.
then switch it back once we're done?
Yeah.
Um, because really, this is all I want to get out
Because
of
I
it.
need this solved,
Yeah.
but I'm not getting anywhere, and I'm going on 4 years now.
And
Yeah.
we weighed out like if I just continue how we are and I'm going to the doctor all the time and this and that. And
Yeah.
so it ended up where it really probably was about the same amount of money. Um, once I had so in January, so they wanted to do more scopes and
Hmm.
all of that because it had been several years. So we
Hmm.
did that in January of 24. Actually, I think it was like in February, and then I'm on track. We've submitted everything. So the spring had kind of gone by, submitted everything to the insurance, and we were leaving on vacation at the beginning of July. And I had called before I left town and I said it's been they had told me like whatever the time frame was and it had been almost that and I said I'm going to be out of town. I'll have my phone with me, but just wanted to check before we left and she's like, "Nope, we're all good." Um this was literally like 1 week. We were gone that next week. We come back and um I got an email that they are closing the clinic, like, period. And they
I know.
did, this
I
was
even knew that part of the story was coming, and I was still bracing myself. Like, can you even imagine? And then,
yeah,
man, after
this,
like what you it's like what is this omen, Lachey, that you're whenever you set out for your initial surgery and
I
you
know.
had to go through that pre-op losing 20 pounds, which by the way is still a really controversial thing if we should be having patients lose weight before surgery. That's like a whole nother conversation, but you went through the whole pre-op process, you were so close, and so here we are now. It's this revision, it's been years, and
And I did go through a whole other pre-op process. I did lose weight again.
yeah.
I had a lot of regain and
Because
I
this was
did,
what you said, February to July, that you were
yeah.
going through that whole process for
Yeah,
the revision.
I had to get a CPAP. I had to do all the pre-op kind
Oof.
of, or all the, the process all over again, going to all the doctors,
Hmm.
getting a letter from a PCP, like all those things had to happen just like
Um,
before. And I was really motivated. I just
yeah,
wanted to feel
yeah,
better.
yeah.
Um, and the surgeon even told me like, with a revision, I mean that I did want to lose weight, but I'm honestly like my priority at that point was I have to feel better.
I
I
really need to.
cannot live
Yeah.
like this anymore. When they did the scope that second time in 2024, she, she said that she had never seen like so much damage to an
Hmm.
esophagus, and I had a hiatal hernia, and
Hmm.
everything was just basically sitting in my chest. And um, so no wonder I couldn't lay down like ever. I was sleeping
Yeah.
in the recliner for months after. I mean, I would eat at 5 in the evening and still by 10 o'clock not be able to like lay down at all. And um, so anyway, yeah, I had done all of those things. And then on a Monday morning, and they did surgeries that morning. And apparently, the surgery team came in from those surgeries and were told then that they were closing by the hospital system. And so, anything scheduled for after that day, people were like fasting for 2 weeks already, like all the
Oh
things.
my gosh.
Um, and I fully thought like I will have surgery by the end of July. Like I thought we were there. And so
Yeah.
um
Life's interruptions.
I took
Absolutely.
about 2 weeks of being upset and like going through like this cycle of I don't even know, maybe grief. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Truly. Yeah.
And just thought, I'm never gonna feel better. Why am I doing this? All the things. And then I was like, nope, I'm doing this. And so I got on the phone. Of course, now there was about 200 people like
All these
looking
people
for,
are influxing to the other surgery
hmm
center, so then you're in line ttrying to
yeah.
get to the next
So
surgeon.
it
Yeah.
was, so they did see me in August, but then I and there were a few things that, because this was a different hospital, so there were a few things I needed to do for them that I hadn't done for the other. And
Right.
so there were those little things, but they were little. And I didn't have to lose any more weight. I just needed to maintain, which I did actually end up losing. I don't know. I was just trying to like not go over the weight
Just
they
don't
told me.
rock the boat. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I got through that, and then yeah, we had surgery October 16th. I like with my job, I had a lot of stuff going on in October, but that was like the first available day possible, and I wasn't going to wait
Yeah.
any
I'll take
longer.
it. Yeah.
So yeah, I had the revision October 16th, and she told me, the other surgeon had told me like there's a very good chance you won't lose like a lot of weight, maybe 50 pounds. Is it worth it? And I'm like, well, yeah, because I just want to feel better. Um, I will say also with my first surgery, after the surgery, it wasn't like I didn't have any complications. I was relatively like, I would hear a lot of people say a lot of things that had been going on with them after surgery, but it was smooth. Not so much for the second one. I
Mm.
did have a lot of complications. I I in the hospital itself was fine. I was able to get all my fluids down and leave on time and all of that. Afterwards, I think it was like a week afterwards, I thought I was dying. My stomach hurt so bad, and I was in tears. I called the doctor's office. They were like, "Go in," and they ran all these scans on me, and it was gas.
Oh.
And I
You're like, I
felt
have to
so
laugh. What do I do?
stupid. But I was just like, it was just the whole thing. It was very, so I just have never had that many issues after anything. But it was painful. I'm not gonna
Well, we
lie.
know you're tough. You lived with insane reflux for 4.5 years.
I
So it
kept
must have been
telling
some gas.
my nurse and my husband, I was like, I've had 3 kids. I don't
Yeah.
remember ever feeling this bad.
Yeah.
So it was a journey and it wasn't easy, but I would say two once I hit like that 2 week mark after surgery, I started feeling better. I also like could not eat. Like I could not keep anything down for a long time. And so I quickly lost the 50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's still kind of slowly coming off, but I've lost about 85 pounds since surgery. And once I got like I was fully expecting not to lose even 50. I was just like, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I've just I've had a harder time eating, and like portions with the sleeve was it was easier for me to eat a larger portion, and that attributed, I feel like, to a lot of the regain. And um just I learned like I was sort of cheating the system a little bit because I learned like, oh, it's fine. I can have chocolate. Sugar didn't make me sick. Chocolate didn't like, I was like, oh, I can have chocolate. And so I'll have a bite here and a bite there. And it's totally fine. And fried, like greasy stuff, like stuff like that did not make me sick. And so I just kept pushing my boundaries a little bit here and there. And I feel like it just added up. And so that was really unfortunate, personally for me because I had gone through so much and I had learned so much, but there's just, I think food as a coping mechanism and food as like, I'm extremely busy, this will be fine just this one time. Turns into again next week, just this one time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was rough. emotionally kind of dealing with that part too, like
Yeah.
what is wrong with me. Um, and then so this time around, I actually get extremely sick from sugar and like fat, even good fat,
Mhm.
makes me really sick. And so I essentially eat no sugar, very little fat, and I have no other choice but to have lots
Yeah.
of good
Yeah.
proteins
Yeah.
and things like that. I
So
just
do you feel
and
like with that, Lachey, like, before, because there we could talk about all those things, right? Like if we
yeah,
had more time, and I'd love to bring you
right.
back another day and talk more about all those topics. But do you feel like because of that, it forces you to like reflect even deeper than before
Yeah.
on the relationship with food or the triggers to food? Like, okay, well now like I cannot have that sugar in that. There's
Mhm.
some grief there, right? Like there's
Mhm.
some, I mean, like does
Yeah.
that bring up a whole nother layer of not being able to use those foods in different times? Because there's even like a social aspect of being with your family and they're having it and you aren't participating because you don't want to feel sick.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think like so there's been like some times of like birthdays or celebration times where we've had stuff like the, like cake or whatever. And my birthday came along, and then um, my mom had made a cake, and it was sugar free. It was not very good.
Oh no.
Um, but she was just trying to like make everything feel quote unquote normal. And I think like there is a time where I just was like, why is this normal? Like I get like we've been doing this because this is what people do, but I don't that doesn't have to be my normal, I guess. And I think like even so my daughter just celebrated her birthday and we were like, actually, there's only like three people that eat the cake.
Mhm.
And so we started buying them cupcakes. And
Yeah, yeah.
um, I had, I have this new habit of warming a protein bar up in the microwave for like 20 seconds. And so like I took like a fourth of a protein bar and did that. We had gone out of town with kind of on a girls trip with my mom and my sister and to celebrate her birthday, my daughter's birthday. And so that was something we did versus you know, getting something a big cake or something like that. So like I feel like
Uh-huh.
we're making our new normals
Yeah.
and I don't want to feel bad.
Yeah.
And I think I have really great support around me um, that understand that. So, and then some people have been like, oh, well, actually, I don't really want to eat that either. So
Right.
I'll have
Yeah.
whatever. So,
Yeah, I want to
yeah,
feel better too. Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I mean, I know like we're talking about a decade worth of
yeah.
journey and ups and downs and motherhood and your kids growing, going through all their stages, and so like, yeah, like any one of these things we could talk more about. But I just love that you came on to just share like, I mean, even those your initial surgery and the revision surgery and what a huge interruption both of those were.
Hmm.
And so if anyone listening, like those huge interruptions, and it's okay to have that time of grief like take, and then moving forward. And yeah, Lachey's always had such a positive outlook of even just laughing and moving forward, and leaning on your support system.
Yep.
Okay, final question. Do you have like a favorite bariatric food coach recipe or resource that you would recommend?
Oh, a favorite. So, one of the things that is a really quick go-to that I would probably say was my favorite is I'm probably going to say the name of this wrong too, but is the chicken or the egg.
Yeah, the
Um,
egg.
it's super simple. I also can just add like whatever else I have on
Mhm.
hand, vegetable wise, and like add extra protein if I want to, but that one helped me through the soft stage. That one
Yeah.
is a quick go-to for when I'm meal prepping for lunches and just want to throw it in a container to take to work. It's
Perfect.
one of my favorites.
Perfect. I will link it. I love it. Well,
All
thank you
right.
so much for being with me for so long and for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thank you for watching or listening. I really hope this conversation was encouraging to you wherever you are on your journey. If you are interested in joining Premier Access, right now we are doing a birthday celebration because it has been 10 years since I started Premier Access, which means you can join for just $15 a month. And that unlocks everything, including 700 recipes, menus, 10 video courses, and our community that we talked a lot about in this call today. So check out the links below or visit bariatricfoodcoach.com and the Join Us button to find out more about it. We would love to see you inside Premier Access.